Where should you get your Parrotlet from if you're looking at getting a Parrotlet? Hi, I'm Kaylin, the author of the Parrot Bliss Bond. Please be sure to get your copy on Amazon today so you have your handbook to help you provide a quality life for your Parrotlet or parrot so that you can then have quantities of bliss. Today I have Chipette with me, and we are talking about where the best place to get a Parrotlet parrot is. The three sources that are usually the sources are some sort of rehome or rescue, a breeder, or a pet store, which is usually a exotic bird store. Now, the thing is, because parrotlets are smaller and they are not going to live nearly as long as, say, an Amazon or a macaw, chances are not as good that you're going to find a parrotlet at a rescue. Now, you may find someone who's selling one, who's rehoming one, but generally speaking, I think because they are wonderful companions and they're easy because they're small, so like having a cage for them that works in your house or your apartment is really easy, then I think it's unlikely, that you're going to find one that is being rehomed or is at a rescue. Not impossible, of course. I'm just saying, it's not quite as likely. Oh, look at her. The windows behind her, lighting her all up. So then it generally brings it down to, well, is it probably best to get your parrotlet from a pet store or from a breeder? The reason I would recommend a breeder over a pet store is because, number one thing about bringing a new bird home is that every time their environment changes, the atmosphere and the bacteria really changes as well. So while this is true for any bird and they actually, do fine, you are going to increase the chances of your parrot being like happy and healthy if they are with the breeder in one area with, one bacterial environment, and then they come to you and are in your home, and that's the second bacterial environment. If they go to a pet store, then they're in a third bacterial environment. So again, it's not because there's anything wrong with it or anything like that. It's just because it just sort of increases the chance that your parrot therefore is exposed to less. It's one bacterial environment less to get used to. Another, I think, really big and significant reason I would try to get a parrotlet from a breeder instead of a store is that, while this isn't always true, generally speaking, when you get your parrotlet from the breeder, they wean them and then you can take them home. And that means your parrotlet is at a really great age, usually somewhere around 6 to 8 weeks. 6 weeks might be a little early. Maybe if you're taking them home and doing a little hand feeding, it would be 6 weeks, but if not, usually, around 8 weeks. Now, pet stores will get their parrots younger and they'll hand feed them. And that's so that they have a chance to handle the parrot and make sure that they're nice and friendly, that kind of thing, before they go to a new home. However, a pet store, of course, doesn't have the time to handle all of the parrots that they have. They're also busy tending, to customers, restocking shelves, doing all of the things that are required to run a business. That means that while a lot of bird stores really do try to make sure that the birds get handled, and that's a great thing, they can't all do it, and they can't do it all the time, kind of thing. In other words, on the other hand, if you get your bird from a breeder and you bring them home, let's say at 8 weeks, now you get to develop a relationship with your parrot starting at 8 weeks. That's a really great age. If you have to wait 12 weeks, that's fine too. But, the sooner you could start to bond with them and create your relationship with them, the easier it is to do. At the pet store, they don't always, like I said, have time to handle them. And so one of the things that can happen is that If you don't happen to get the Parrotlet pretty quickly and early on, then sometimes they're less tame. They have been in the pet store, and while they have been handled, although little birds like a Parrotlet don't tend to go out on a perch for people to pet, because the bigger birds are easier to catch or easier to come and have step up than a little bird that can fly around the store and easily get lost. So, chances are that if your Parrotlet is at the pet store and they've been there, and it's been more than 8 weeks, like it gets to be 12 weeks, it gets to be 4 months. Now your Parrotlet is spending more time at that pet store. And while the same could be true with the breeder, and the breeder really won't have time to handle them, generally speaking, with a breeder, you could get on a wait list and get the baby when the baby's available. Whereas at the pet store, again, there's nothing wrong with a baby that's 4 months, and I really don't want to discourage you from getting a Parrotlet that's been in a bird store for 5 months, 6 months. But I'm just pointing out that it's a lot easier when the baby is younger and just comes home with you than when it has been in the pet store. And if it's been in the pet store for a while, then it's just not quite the same, because it may start to fear people, or it may not get handled, and it may not be as friendly. Of course, there are always exceptions to everything. I'm sort of giving you an idea of the generalizations and explaining to you why my first choice would be a breeder. Of course, that's not always possible, but on the flip side, sometimes getting a bird from a breeder is actually easier, because you just contact them and get on the wait list. And often the breeder will just ship the bird to you. Now, do be aware that with a bird like a Parrotlet, they are so small, and their systems work so quickly that I don't like the idea personally of shipping Parrotlets. So even though I do light breeding, I don't ship them. I've never shipped one myself. I feel like, they can travel with fruit to feed themselves, or they can travel, I'm not sure I don't think they allow seeds, because like the seeds will move in the cage and they can fall out, and then the bird has no food. So I don't like the fact that in order for the Parrotlet to sort of be established enough and really be able to travel for, 4 to 14 hours, right? From 2 hours before the plane takes off. Hi, sweetie. Hi, Tippet. To however long the flight is, and maybe to being picked up. Are you calling your friend? Yes. That could be a long time for a little Parrotlet. It could be a long time for any parrot that's young, but with a quicker metabolism, it just makes me a little uncomfortable, and I can't think of anything worse than the Parrotlet not having a good journey. They're just so small, and their metabolisms are just so quick. So that doesn't mean that you can't have a Parrotlet shipped to you. I've known, I've talked to plenty of people who breed and ship them, but it just means it's not my first choice. I'm not comfortable with it. It doesn't mean there's nothing wrong with it. Okay, now that I've lost my Parrotlet, if your parrot is stressed out, please be sure to get Tink's must-have CBD and hemp oil available for you on parrotbliss.com. It is CBD that's going to help calm your parrot, de-stress your parrot, help them come back to a good balance while getting some really good omegas at the same time, because the omegas in there have the perfect balance of omega-3s and 6s, and that's the perfect balance for both you and your parrot. So things like coconut oil, which I love, and sometimes I do give to my parrots, is fantastic, but it doesn't have the right balance. So I just haven't been able to beat hemp oil for that perfect balance. And the CBD for, the very many benefits, such as just supporting a strong immune system and helping with that immune system. So if you're interested, please check that out on parrotbliss.com. And please check, because very soon I will have my Christmas tea available on parrotbliss.com. If you have any questions about Parrotlets or any other parrot, I have 18 species of parrots. I'm probably going to be able to either help you or ask one of my experts. I have some experts that I talk to when in doubt, so that hopefully I'm helping you really create a blissful bond with your parrot, because there's nothing better. Thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you next time.